In the early 2000s, a vision emerged from Silicon Valley, a future where disease detection was as simple as a single drop of blood. This was the promise of Theranos, founded by Elizabeth Holmes. She articulated a compelling narrative of democratizing healthcare, making diagnostic testing affordable and accessible to all, ostensibly eliminating the need for invasive, painful venous draws. It was a narrative that captivated investors, media, and the public alike, painting a picture of a technological breakthrough poised to redefine medical diagnostics. But beneath this ambitious vision lay a hidden truth, a complex web of claims that would later be scrutinized. Elizabeth Holmes, a Stanford dropout at just 19, founded Real-Time Cures in 2003, later rebranding it to Theranos. Her ambition was clear: to revolutionize blood testing. According to early reports and company statements, Holmes envisioned a device that could perform a vast array of tests using minuscule blood samples, challenging the established norms of clinical laboratories. She presented herself as a visionary, drawing comparisons to tech giants like Steve Jobs, cultivating an aura of innovation and secrecy around her nascent enterprise. This early stage laid the groundwork for an empire built on a powerful, yet ultimately unverified, technological claim. Central to Theranos' audacious claim was a device it called Edison. The company asserted that this proprietary technology could conduct hundreds of standard laboratory tests, from cholesterol levels to cancer markers, from a single drop of blood, obtained through a simple finger prick. This was a direct challenge to traditional phlebotomy, which required larger venous blood draws. Public statements by Elizabeth Holmes and internal company documents presented Edison as a breakthrough, offering unprecedented speed, accuracy, and convenience. The device became the cornerstone of Theranos' public image, a symbol of its innovative spirit and the bedrock of its multi-billion-dollar valuation. By the early 2010s, Theranos had become a darling of Silicon Valley, attracting significant venture capital and celebrity investors. Its valuation soared, reaching over $9 billion by 2014, propelled by the captivating vision Holmes presented. This substantial financial backing was largely built on the promise of the Edison technology, despite the fact that details about its operation and accuracy remained largely undisclosed. The company operated with extreme secrecy, often citing trade secrets to avoid sharing technical specifics or submitting its technology for independent, peer-reviewed validation. This lack of transparency, while initially perceived as strategic, would later become a critical red flag. A pivotal moment in Theranos' trajectory was its 2013 partnership with Walgreens, one of the largest pharmacy chains in the United States. This collaboration envisioned rolling out Theranos wellness centers inside Walgreens stores across the country, making its finger prick blood tests readily available to the public. For Walgreens, it was an opportunity to embrace innovation and attract new customers. For Theranos, it represented a massive validation and a direct channel to mainstream consumers. The deal was touted as a game-changer, promising to bring affordable and convenient diagnostic testing to communities nationwide, further cementing Theranos' public image as a transformative healthcare company. Following the Walgreens deal, Theranos secured another high-profile partnership with the grocery giant Safeway. This ambitious agreement, struck around the same period, aimed to integrate Theranos' blood testing services into Safeway supermarkets. Safeway reportedly invested significant capital, around $350 million, to renovate hundreds of its stores to include clinics that would house the Theranos technology. This deal underscored the widespread belief in Theranos' capabilities and its founder's vision. It signaled further expansion into the consumer market, yet another move that gave the company immense public credibility without substantial, independent scientific verification of its underlying technology. While publicly promoting the revolutionary Edison device, Theranos was, in reality, secretly running most of its blood tests on standard commercial laboratory equipment. This critical fact, later revealed by investigative reporting, lay at the heart of the fraud mechanism. Internal documents and whistleblower testimonies confirmed that the Edison machine was largely non-functional or unreliable for the vast majority of tests Theranos offered. Instead of pioneering new technology, the company was purchasing and adapting commercially available analyzers, often modifying them to accept smaller, diluted finger prick samples, a practice that itself introduced significant accuracy issues. Reports from former employees and internal company documents consistently painted a picture of Edison's profound unreliability. The device struggled with consistency, often yielding wildly inaccurate results. Critics argued that the fundamental scientific challenge of performing complex assays on such tiny, diluted samples was far greater than Holmes acknowledged. This inherent technical flaw meant that the Edison machine, despite its futuristic appearance, simply could not deliver on the promises made to investors, partners, and the public. The gulf between the company's public claims and its internal capabilities grew wider with each passing year, necessitating the reliance on conventional methods. A significant technical hurdle that Theranos failed to overcome was the integrity of the minuscule blood samples obtained via finger prick. The company's method often required diluting these already tiny samples to meet the volume requirements of modified commercial machines. This dilution process, according to experts and later confirmed by regulatory findings, severely compromised the accuracy of test results. Diluting samples can alter concentrations of analytes, leading to falsely high or low readings. This fundamental flaw meant that even when using commercial machines, Theranos' methodology was inherently compromised, undermining the very precision required for medical diagnostics. To maintain the illusion of its groundbreaking technology, Theranos cultivated an extreme culture of secrecy within its walls. Employees were compartmentalized, with knowledge of different aspects of the technology strictly limited. Non-disclosure agreements were stringent, and those who questioned the science or expressed doubts about the Edison device's functionality were often marginalized, intimidated, or fired. This internal climate, described by former employees, stifled dissent and prevented crucial information about the technology's shortcomings from reaching external stakeholders or even other parts of the company. It became an essential tool for perpetuating the fraud mechanism. Despite the tight control, concerns began to fester among Theranos employees. Scientists and lab personnel, particularly those working directly with the Edison devices and the commercial machines, observed firsthand the discrepancies between the company's public narrative and its operational reality. Reports from former Theranos lab director Adam Rosendorf and others detailed systemic issues, failed quality control checks, inconsistent results, and a pervasive pressure to manipulate data or obscure problems. These early internal warnings, however, were consistently dismissed or suppressed by Theranos leadership, setting the stage for external scrutiny to eventually emerge. Theranos also skillfully navigated regulatory pathways, initially operating its labs under CLIA, Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendments, waivers, which allowed certain tests to be run without extensive FDA review. The company's strategy involved certifying its California lab under a less stringent state license, rather than a full federal one, which provided some shield from rigorous oversight for a period. While not illegal, this approach raised questions among critics about the company's commitment to independent validation. This regulatory maneuvering allowed Theranos to continue operating its services and expanding its partnerships without the robust scrutiny that would typically be applied to novel diagnostic technologies. In early 2015, investigative journalist John Carreiro of the Wall Street Journal began receiving tips about Theranos. These initial whispers came from former employees, who, despite their fear of legal repercussions, felt a moral obligation to expose what they believed was a dangerous fraud. Carreiro, a two-time Pulitzer Prize winner, recognized the potential significance of these claims. He embarked on a meticulous investigation, piecing together the fragmented accounts of disillusioned insiders and scrutinizing publicly available information, all while Theranos continued to deny any wrongdoing and aggressively threaten legal action against those who spoke out. Carreiro's investigation heavily relied on the brave testimonies of whistleblowers, most notably former Theranos lab director Adam Rosendorf and Tyler Schultz, the grandson of board member George Schultz. These individuals provided crucial internal documentation and first-hand accounts of the company's deceptive practices. They detailed how the Edison devices consistently failed quality control and proficiency testing, necessitating the secret use of commercial analyzers. Their willingness to speak out, despite immense pressure and legal threats from Theranos, became instrumental in exposing the fraud mechanism that allowed the company to operate under false pretenses. As John Carreero's investigation progressed, Theranos and its legal team responded aggressively. The company employed powerful lawyers to threaten the Wall Street Journal, its editor, and Carreero himself. They sent cease and desist letters to former employees, warning them against violating their non-disclosure agreements. Elizabeth Holmes personally contacted the journal's owner, Rupert Murdoch, attempting to kill the story. These tactics, while intended to silence critics, inadvertently signaled the company's desperation and reinforced Carreero's conviction that he was onto a significant story, further fueling his resolve to expose the truth. On October 16, 2015, the Wall Street Journal published John Carreero's explosive report titled "A Priced Silicon Valley Startup Struggles." The article directly challenged Theranos' core claims, alleging that the company's much-lauded Edison device was unreliable and that it was secretly using traditional blood testing machines for the vast majority of its tests. This was the moment the specific fraud mechanism was laid bare for the public. The report cited multiple former employees and presented compelling evidence, triggering immediate and widespread skepticism about a company that had previously enjoyed almost uncritical acclaim. It marked the beginning of the end for Theranos. The Wall Street Journal exposé's first major allegations centered on the Edison device itself. Carreero reported that Edison could perform only a limited number of tests, far fewer than the hundreds claimed, and that even those it could run were prone to significant accuracy problems. Sources within Theranos described how the device frequently failed quality control checks, producing inconsistent and often clinically meaningless results. This directly contradicted Elizabeth Holmes's public assertions about Edison's revolutionary capabilities, exposing the device as an unreliable piece of technology that could not fulfill its core promise. The second and perhaps most damning allegation from the Wall Street Journal was that Theranos secretly conducted the vast majority of its blood tests using commercially available analyzers from companies like Siemens. This revelation directly exposed the central fraud mechanism. The company's unique selling proposition, its proprietary Edison technology, was a facade. Instead of innovating, Theranos was merely repackaging existing solutions, often poorly, and misleading its partners and the public about the source and reliability of its results. This was not a minor technical glitch but a fundamental deception at the core of its business model. The Wall Street Journal article sent shockwaves through the healthcare industry and Silicon Valley. The public, who had largely bought into the Theranos hype, reacted with disbelief and anger. Investors began to question the integrity of their investments, and partners like Walgreens and Safeway faced immediate scrutiny. The glowing media coverage that once championed Elizabeth Holmes rapidly turned critical, initiating a dramatic shift in public perception. The narrative of a visionary disruptor quickly unraveled, replaced by questions of fraud, deception, and the ethical responsibilities of groundbreaking startups. The Wall Street Journal exposé immediately caught the attention of federal regulators. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, responsible for overseeing clinical laboratories, launched an investigation into Theranos' California lab. Simultaneously, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, began scrutinizing the company's devices, particularly its finger-prick blood collection system. These regulatory bodies, previously somewhat evaded by Theranos' strategic certifications, now moved to thoroughly inspect the company's practices and technology. This marked a critical turning point, shifting the battle from the media to the formal legal and compliance arenas. In the immediate aftermath of the Wall Street Journal report, Walgreens, Theranos' most prominent partner, faced immense pressure. Public trust in the partnership eroded rapidly. In January 2016, Walgreens announced it would pause the expansion of its Theranos wellness centers and stop sending patient samples to the company's Newark, California, lab. This decision was a significant blow to Theranos, undermining its credibility and hindering its ability to access customers. The very partner that had lent Theranos legitimacy was now signaling serious doubts, revealing the tangible consequences of the exposed fraud mechanism. The fallout from the Wall Street Journal exposé also cast a long shadow over Theranos' partnership with Safeway. While Safeway had invested hundreds of millions to integrate Theranos clinics into its stores, the rollout had been significantly delayed even before the exposé due to internal concerns about the technology. The article intensified these anxieties, leading Safeway to question its entire investment and the viability of the partnership. Ultimately, the Safeway deal, once hailed as a major expansion, never fully materialized, becoming another casualty of the exposed deception and a stark indicator of the company's rapidly declining fortunes. With the public narrative fractured and regulatory bodies closing in, investor confidence in Theranos crumbled. The company's once stratospheric valuation of $9 billion began to plummet as the market reassessed the true worth of its technology. The allure of a revolutionary product, built on secrecy and grand promises, vanished as the fraud mechanism came into full view. The investment community, previously dazzled by Holmes's charisma and the promise of disruption, was left grappling with the reality of significant losses and a profound betrayal of trust. The consequences of this loss of confidence would be severe and irreversible. In the face of the mounting allegations, Elizabeth Holmes staunchly defended Theranos and its technology. She appeared on national television, including CNBC's Mad Money with Jim Cramer, dismissing the Wall Street Journal article as sensationalist and inaccurate. Holmes maintained that the company's proprietary technology was robust and reliable, vehemently denying any fraudulent activity. She reiterated the trade secret argument to avoid disclosing specifics about the Edison device's operation. However, her public defiance increasingly clashed with the growing body of evidence, making her explanation seem less credible with each subsequent revelation. The period following the 2015 Wall Street Journal exposé marked the unequivocal beginning of the end for Theranos. The regulatory investigations intensified, leading to a cascade of further negative findings. In 2016, CMS threatened to revoke the license of Theranos' California lab and ban Holmes from owning or operating a blood testing laboratory for 2 years. These actions directly targeted the operational heart of the company and its founder. The systematic unraveling of Theranos was now in full swing, transitioning from a media scandal to a full-blown regulatory and legal crisis, forcing the true capabilities of its technology into the harsh light of public scrutiny. To reiterate, the core fraud mechanism of Theranos was simple yet audacious. Elizabeth Holmes claimed the company's proprietary Edison device could perform a multitude of accurate lab tests from a single finger prick blood sample. Simultaneously, internal operations revealed this technology did not work reliably. To mask this failure and continue operating, the company secretly ran most of its patient tests on conventional, commercially available lab equipment. This deception allowed Theranos to maintain its public image, secure billions in funding, and forge high-profile partnerships, all while delivering potentially inaccurate results to patients. How did Theranos sustain this fraud for so long? The company masterfully tapped into the Silicon Valley ethos of disruption and innovation, positioning itself as a revolutionary force against an outdated medical establishment. Elizabeth Holmes, with her distinctive voice and black turtlenecks, became the embodiment of this narrative. Investors and media were often eager to believe in a charismatic founder promising a paradigm shift, sometimes overlooking crucial due diligence or dismissing legitimate scientific skepticism. This powerful narrative provided a protective shield, allowing the fraud mechanism to operate unchecked until rigorous investigative journalism finally broke through. Beyond the financial fraud, the Theranos deception carried profound ethical implications, especially concerning patient safety. Patients received test results from a company that was knowingly using unreliable methods or misrepresenting the source of its testing. False positives or negatives from Theranos labs could have led to incorrect diagnoses, unnecessary treatments, or, critically, misdetection of serious illnesses. The pursuit of rapid growth and high valuation at the expense of scientific integrity and patient well-being stands as a stark warning in the healthcare technology sector. The fraud was not just against investors, it was against the very people Theranos claimed to help. The rise and fall of Theranos serves as a critical cautionary tale for the biotechnology and startup industries. It highlighted the dangers of unchecked hype, the allure of secrecy, and the severe consequences of prioritizing market valuation over scientific rigor and transparency. The narrative arc, from a promising disruptor to a company embroiled in fraud, underscores the importance of independent validation, robust regulatory oversight, and the ethical responsibilities inherent in innovations that directly impact human health. The Theranos saga demonstrated that even in the fast-paced world of tech, fundamental scientific principles and honest reporting are paramount. This story also profoundly underscored the indispensable role of investigative journalism in holding powerful entities accountable. Without John Carrero's tenacious reporting and the courage of whistleblowers, the Theranos fraud might have continued for much longer, potentially endangering more lives. His work demonstrated that even against immense corporate pressure and legal threats, rigorous fact-finding and a commitment to truth can dismantle even the most carefully constructed deceptions. The Theranos scandal is a testament to the power of a free press and the moral courage of individuals who refuse to remain silent. Let's compare the promises of Theranos against the realities uncovered by investigation. The company promised a single finger prick for hundreds of accurate tests. The reality was unreliable results, even with dilution, from a device that barely functioned. It touted proprietary, breakthrough technology. The reality was a secret reliance on off-the-shelf commercial analyzers. Theranos spoke of democratizing healthcare through accessible, affordable testing. The reality was a dangerous deception that jeopardized patients' safety for corporate gain. This stark contrast highlights the vast chasm between the cultivated image and the underlying truth. The timeline of deception illustrates how the fraud mechanism evolved. Founded in 2003, Theranos built its multi-billion-dollar valuation on undisclosed technology claims. Key partnerships with Walgreens and Safeway between 2013 to 2015 amplified its public legitimacy. All the while, internal struggles with the Edison device necessitated the secret use of commercial equipment. The narrative held until the pivotal moment of the 2015 Wall Street Journal expose, which systematically dismantled the company's claims and exposed the fundamental fraud, setting in motion its eventual collapse and legal repercussions. While our focus ends at the 2015 Wall Street Journal expose, it's important to briefly note what followed. The expose triggered widespread investigations by federal agencies including the SEC and DOJ. Elizabeth Holmes and her former COO Ramesh Sunny Balwani were eventually indicted on charges of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Their trials brought the full extent of the deception to light, leading to convictions. Holmes was found guilty of 4 counts of investor fraud and conspiracy in January 2022. Marking a definitive end to the Theranos saga and solidifying its place as a cautionary tale. The cost of Theranos' deception was immense, far beyond the billions in lost investor capital. It eroded public trust in healthcare innovation, created undue regulatory burdens, and most importantly, potentially compromised the health of thousands of patients who relied on its inaccurate tests. The story stands as a stark reminder that in industries dealing with human lives, the promises of technological breakthroughs must be rigorously scrutinized and independently verified. Integrity, transparency, and scientific validation are not optional, they are foundational pillars that cannot be circumvented for the sake of speed or financial gain. The Theranos story offers profound lessons for investors, entrepreneurs, and the public. For investors, it highlights the need for due diligence that penetrates beyond charismatic founders and compelling narratives, especially when technology remains opaque. For entrepreneurs, it underscores that genuine innovation requires scientific rigor and ethical conduct, not just disruptive ambition. And for the public, it reinforces the importance of questioning bold claims, seeking independent verification, and trusting credible journalism. The saga of Theranos serves as a permanent testament to the truth that ultimately, facts and evidence will prevail over even the most sophisticated illusions.